Hey, welcome back. This is the last video in this installment of the Kihon concept series, the three parts to a kata. If you have not seen the introduction video to that, or video one on receiving, or the video two on that about the reverse or reversing, I highly recommend that you go back and see those. I know it's been a while since I've produced this next video, so it might also be a good idea to go back and see those just to remind you what I talked about. To summarize it, the three parts of a kata, all kata have these three parts. They all have a receive, or how you're receiving the opponent's attack, and then they all have a reverse, um, where you are essentially reversing that dynamic. So instead of them being in control of when and how they attack and all of that, through the way you receive it, you are also reversing that polarity. So now you take away their power or they lose their power and you gain in power. So the advantage starts to come back to you. And this third part is the last and final part of a kata. Um, it can be known as delivery or attack or anything like that, but it's really it's the point when you've received the attack, you've reversed that control or the danger or whatever, and now there's an opportunity for you to do something. And so this third part is the delivery. This is the part where you're delivering some sort of response to that. It doesn't necessarily have to be an attack, and this is the part that I really want to emphasize is that uh, a lot of techniques, a lot of kata always involve some sort of counter attack. But in the real world of self defense, you have to consider the fact that you don't have to attack. You have options. And that's the whole point. The reason that you receive is to mitigate any potential damage, maybe avoid some damage, etc., but also to set up the ability to then change that, like I said, that dynamic to put you in a position where now you have some options and now you exercise those options. So, how do you do that? Well, again, you have to look at how are you receiving, and it all starts in the very beginning. How are you receiving that attack? Because the way you receive the attack sets up the opportunity to then reverse the dynamic of the attack so that you now have this opportunity. So everything is really just predicated on that very, very first move. That's the essential part. And once you have that opportunity, you have to act decisively. This is the other significant part to that, is that decisiveness in action is critical. That um, you may not get another chance. That if you, let's say this person throws a punch and you receive this punch in a way that knocks their arm off, their body structure is off alignment, their balance is affected, you've now reversed the situation. They're in a weak position. You're in a strong position because you've received it in hopefully good structure and balance, and now they're broken. So you're strong, they're weak, and when that opportunity presents itself, you have to be decisive. No hesitation. You can't think about it, analyze it. You don't have time. It has to be go now, that go button. And so if your response is then going to be to attack the person, then attack. So in this situation here, you've done that. The person's arm is knocked out of the way, their body's open, everything's open. At that point, you have to be able to roll right into the next attack. You can't just block the arm or move the arm, whatever, and their body's all off, and then you kind of stop and think about what to do because they're going to fix their position. Anybody who is taken off balance instinctively will try to recapture their balance. And also, you have to consider the fact of mindset. In their mindset, they're coming after you, and when suddenly they feel like it's not working, and now they're in a oh no situation, that panic button goes off in their head, and they're going to be instantly challenged with having to fix themselves. So if the guy's like this, and all of a sudden oh no, he's going to instinctively want to just cover and protect because he knows something's going to happen. He's trying to fix himself to be able to continue the fight. So if you wait, that window that's open is going to close, and then it's too late. So you have to be decisive, and the only way you can be decisive is to practice your kata in a way that allows for each part to flow into the next part. It cannot be a look, think, act type of dynamic because that's three parts that needs to happen as one. There's no way you can see and determine and make a choice and act fast enough in a real fight dynamic. And so the way that a kata is developed is that everything flows into the next. That if you do part one right, the opportunity for part two is there, and you just naturally flow into that part two. And because of that, the opportunity for part three is there, and naturally you flow into part three. There's no there's no kind of hit, see, act. It's just one flows right into the next. And this is why you have to train properly, you have to train slowly, and you have to have a deep understanding of each little part of that kata and why it's there. What is the desired result that that kata is trying to achieve? And the way you practice it has to be for that effect. And you need to have honest training partners who are going to tell you if that effect is not there. Um, this is the part where I think a lot of martial artists maybe struggle with. Maybe your partner might feel ashamed. Maybe maybe you're more higher ranked than them, and they're training with you, and they throw the punch, and you hit the arm, but they don't. It's not really affecting their body, but they just do it anyway because they think that's what they're supposed to do because you're the senior guy, or maybe regardless of rank, maybe they're just polite and they just want to go along with you. But in reality, they're actually doing you a disservice because you're not understanding, you're not developing what it is that that kata needs to have, that part, in order to create that opportunity. So, and I'm not saying you have to blast their arm, et cetera, but you have to have a certain level of training honesty in order to be able to to have quality in your technique that it's actually going to do what it's supposed to do when it's real, when the pressure is on. Um, so the delivery part is that's the part everybody gets excited about. That's the part that's cool. The guy throws the punch, you block the punch, he's wide open, and that's when you get to move in and maybe you do this fantastic throw and you do all these things, this big flash. And that's the other thing that people need to get over is that the ego plays heavily into this, and the delivery part becomes more about an expression of the ego than about an expression of the beauty and quality of the kata. I see this a lot, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but in training with so many different people from all over, and for so long I've been doing this that I'm sure anybody who's experienced in martial arts will agree with me because they've experienced it themselves. You will see that where they'll do the first part of the kata, maybe this middle part, but then that part when it's the final big play, that suddenly like they just this big smile on their face and they want to just make it as big and beautiful and fantastic and everything else, and it has to be this big show at the very end. And the part that really kind of drives me insane is when they is when it, they'll have somebody and the person's there, they're open, and then they want to just like do four, five, six moves on this guy. When in reality, it wouldn't happen like that. If you look at the old traditional kata, the old school kata, koru kata, and stuff like that, it was three moves. That's it. Three parts. That's it. And each part had one move, one big play. It could have multiple body parts moving at the same time, but it was essentially one move. So um, to make it as simplistic as possible, it would be just simply block, shift, strike, three parts, right? Or to receive, transition forward, and then execute with the final strike. That's it. Or strike, pull off balance, and throw, or whatever. But it was three parts. Instead, you now have the ego coming in where the ego wants to do all these things because it's like, oh, now I have the stage. I get to show off. And so I'm going to do everything. I'm going to hit him here and kick him here and step in here and move here and walk around here. And I mean, smile at the girl across the way or whatever. Like they want to do all these things in this one little part, this last part. And that's that's just the ego that's playing. So when you are practicing your kata, you need to understand that ego has no place in this, that it is about mastering the principle and mastering the technique so that it becomes efficient, so that you get maximum results with minimal effort, not maximum effort and maximum result. So that means you're trying to refine your kata, your move, to that very, very finite technique, that one thing that's going to end it. And and the reason that in the beginning I was talking about not attack, don't get locked into this idea that delivery, this third part of the technique, means attack, because you also have to consider the fact that you may bleed, right? So you block the guy's arm, he's off balance, and then you just turn and keep going. Um, it's not very flashy, right? It doesn't look martial arty, but that's logic and common sense that you would escape a violent situation if given the first opportunity. Um, and in today's society, that's the safer approach to take, um, to evac the situation. But it doesn't sell martial arts classes. You can imagine your action films where the guy's attacking the action star, and the action star just raises his hands and goes, "Oh no!" blocks it, and then leaves, walks away. Is that whatever? I mean, that would be a boring movie. Or he avoids the whole situation, and no fight actually happens, or whatever. That would be boring. People want to see the fight, and in their mind, when they're training in a kata, they want to see big things. They want to see flash bang stuff that looks good on film, or things that would look good to other people seeing, and they want to show off. And so they pick that third part, the delivery part, to do that. And so that's really the danger zone when it comes to training properly in a kata, is the battle of the ego, to not let the ego take over and turn it into a show, to actually dissect the parts and figure out what makes them tick and what is unnecessary, a stripping away of the unnecessary so that you can really just get to the root of it, the part that really makes it tick, and and just practice that, even if it looks boring on video. But to your opponent, it's sneaky as heck, and it has maximum effect, and you're minimizing the amount of energy usage. It's just, that is high level martial arts. That is high level martial arts. High level martial arts is not limbs everywhere and doing all these crazy things and jumping all over the place. High level martial arts is actually very, 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 very subtle and small and minimal, but maximum effect. Maximum effect. So that that's all I want to say about that. It all depends on the art you train in, what those three parts consist of, but every art has those three parts, even if it's a grappling art, weapon art, or any of that. So I encourage you to really, really take a look at your training, really take a look at the technique in the art that you practice, and see if you can find those three parts, and dissect them individually so that you can have a deep understanding of each one of them, and then look for what's connecting them together, the bridge that, that connects the receive with the reverse, with the return or the delivery. What are those links that's linking that together? And then strive to be able to move from one part to the next without stopping. How in the beginning it's one, two, three, and then you start to learn how to then blend where it just becomes all one. That's that's how you work a kata. That's how a kata develops through practice. So I hope you found this useful and helpful and at least entertaining. Please subscribe to my channel. Feel free to share it with people you think might benefit. I do appreciate any and all comments as long as they're constructive and positive. Um, Even if it's a complaint, as long as it's constructive, it's okay. I'm not pretending to know everything. So if you have different knowledge or experiences, you may also share that as well. Uh, Feel free to also drop me a comment on questions or maybe anything you might want to see in an upcoming video, something you would like me to talk about. I'm not going to demonstrate techniques. This is not a home study course. This is merely just talking in concepts. So that way, it doesn't matter what art you are in. There's universal application, something that you can walk away with and apply it in your own training. So again, I appreciate all the likes and the follows and subscribing so far, all the support, private messages I get from people. Please continue to send them. And I promise I will try to put up more videos and make this a little bit more regular. Um, but I do appreciate any and all support. So again, I hope this COVID-19 is not wreaking too much havoc on your life and you are finding time to find enjoyment and to get out and train and be active and be healthy and live life. Life is meant to be lived and don't live in fear. Fear is strangulates. So don't live in fear. Just stay active and stay positive and stay healthy. So all the best to you and keep training.